communication obviously is key, and through that communication, making sure that there's no silos. Um, Common goals, just like you said, common goals, making sure everybody understands the common goal, the direction that we're headed, and that we have a roadmap to get there. And then you got to sell the story, sell the plan to the whole group. And once you get the whole group to buy in, then it's much easier to all go in the same direction.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wisenetix Podcast episode. I'm really happy to have here with me today Blake Wilson, a good friend. Blake is the global commercial director for Kerry, and he's going to share a lot of great insights with us about, leading teams, leading companies and departments, and how do you do that? Welcome, Blake.
Thank you, Ricardo. It's glad to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. So Blake, we like to start our conversations with a short introduction on our guests. So if you could talk a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So Blake Wilson, Global Commercial Director for Kerry, live in Georgia, right outside of Athens. I born and raised in North Georgia, grew up on a broiler farm. So chickens and poultry are absolutely in my blood. My whole family is involved in the industry in some form or fashion, and so never been able to get away from it. Married, 3 kids. I've got two that are in elementary school and one that's in her second year of college. So we got a diverse household, but they keep me on my toes. How about that?
I can imagine. So Blake, you have an extended, background and experience in the industry across different companies and different segments, even as you mentioned, poultry is in your blood. Um, what would you highlight as your top three experiences in life so far, and what you've learned from those? And please, you don't need to stick to professional.
Sure.
Personal experiences are welcome.
I tell you what, one of the first things that always comes to mind when somebody asks me about this, as a young man growing up on a farm in North Georgia, wasn't really exposed to a lot until I went off to college, and then there really got to experience different cultures, different people from different places, different backgrounds, and really then did I start seeing all the different opportunities, all the different possibilities that are out there, and got me looking at doing something that nobody else in my family had done, and that was what has ultimately led me here. And now I get to travel all over the world. So my next experience, life changing experience, is I was out of college. I was in my first professional career before I ever left the U.S. And now I'm going all over the place, and I've got family members. My dad, for example, has never been west of the Mississippi. He can't fathom the fact that I get to go everywhere and visit all these places. So it's awesome, and it's also helped me understand there's so many different ways of growing birds, growing pigs, so many different ways of working, and it's been an absolute pleasure learning from different people in different regions, different countries. And then the third is just my family. You know, raising kids, they teach you something new every day, and they absolutely are why I do what I do, and they teach me and they keep me on my toes for sure, like I've already said. But yeah, if it wasn't for family, I don't know if I'd be this motivated to always go out and work as hard as I work.
Absolutely. As mentioned, all the traveling, it's exciting and help us open our view and have a better perspective. And the family is the reason why we get back home, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
and thinking about family now, so the way we transition our conversations here to the part when we talk about business and managing teams and marketing and everything is with this question. So, how would your parents describe what you do today?
Yeah, so both of them know that I'm in animal nutrition in some form or fashion. My mom would know that I lead sales teams and that I work with different technologies. And then my dad would just tell people that I travel to feed chickens.
Good definition. Like, awesome. So, Blake, let's talk about a little bit more about business, and not only actually more than business. Let's talk about people. I think that's one thing that talking to you, learning more about you, I've learned that managing people, making a business happen is most of it. It's about making people
Sure.
do things, right? Managing groups and make them collaborate with each other. Today, as a global commercial director, you oversee lots of different departments such as R&D, sales, marketing, supply chain, and all of that, right? What would you say, like, how do you ensure that all of those different people and departments collaborate to each other for you guys to accomplish your common goals? What are the main things for that?
Yeah, great question. So communication obviously is key, and through that communication, making sure that there's no silos. Uh, Common goals, just like you said, common goals, making sure everybody understands the common goal, the direction that we're headed, and that we have a roadmap to get there. And then you've got to sell the story, sell the plan to the whole group. And once you get the whole group to buy in, then it's much easier to all go in the same direction at the same pace and work together. What I find that is difficult sometimes is bringing salespeople and then R&D people together on the same page, um, setting the same expectations, getting them to communicate in the same way. But once you do that, once you work with them and get everybody on board, what you can accomplish is so much better and so much more than you could as an individual. So I don't need sales guys out there, sales people out there working individually in a silo and not talking to the inner office people. And I don't need inner office people coming up with great ideas, but not disseminating it throughout the group. If we can come together as a whole and work together, we're much stronger and we're much better set up for success than if we're working individually.
And I see this even more essential in such industries like animal nutrition, where technical or R&D and sales walk together, right? It's basically every day when you work with animal nutrition, you're trying to sell something, convince someone that probably has a really good technical background, and if those two departments specifically are not aligned, it's it's a headache, let's call. Um, and one thing that you also mentioned, communication first, which I would like
Hmm.
would like to ask you two questions here. Communication. Are there any specific tactics you guys use, to improve your communication? Any business rules that you establish to make sure that communication is transparent and clear among your individuals and teams?
Always want to utilize the tools and equipments that your company provides. Okay, so one of the first that we try to do is from a sales standpoint, all of our information's within our CRM. So really getting all teams to work and collaborate within the CRM. If you use the same tool, if everybody's working on the same platform, then you know there's a consistent flow of information. Okay. And then outside of your CRM, making sure you're utilizing all the other tools, whether it's a Microsoft Office suites or Google suites or any of the others that might be out there. Once again, everybody working on the same platforms. And then one thing that I'm a big fan of is sharing documents, working collaborative across teams, across platforms uh, on a shared document, whether it's a Word document, Excel document. That way, we're all, oftentimes you can open up a document, you see 4 or 5 people in there working on it at the same time. And then it breeds collaboration, it breeds innovation, and really uh, takes down those silos, right? When you start doing that, then everybody's on the same page and doing the same things and marching in the same beat toward the same goals.
Yeah, that was actually my second question about how do you break down those silos? And when you say silos, are we thinking here about like
Okay.
specific groups with different ideas, or maybe lack of clarity on like the common goals. Can you just better describe to us what you mean by what are those silos and how do you break down?
There's many different kind of silos. You can have a silo such as an account manager or sales rep that has their territory and they have their customer base and they only talk to their customers and they don't really talk to your R&D or your supply chain or your customer service. There's no collaboration, communication, and then when something happens, they're not prepped for it, right? In business, things happen, right? Raw material shortage, transfer truck blows a tire, you can't get product to a customer on time. Things happen, and we need to have fast and clear paths of communication, right? And if you're working in a silo and you're only communicating when things go bad, that's not good. Okay, so that's one form. Another form is, you got this great R&D team that is in a lab and they're always doing this research or science or looking at the newest innovations, the newest products, but they're not talking to the team and making sure that what they're working on lines up with what the market needs. Okay, you can have the best product in the world come out, but if the market doesn't accept it and the market doesn't need it, then it's not going to be successful. And so we always want to make sure there's a clear line of communication. And as a commercial director, as a global commercial director, my job is to bring people together. And it's not to necessarily drive the conversation or direct the conversation. It's to build a platform that allows people to share their thoughts, share their opinions, and to be comfortable doing that. And so that's ultimately what I try to build is a culture of collaboration, a culture of uh, you are free to share your thoughts and your opinions, and you're not going to be punished for doing that by any means, because all that's doing is making us all stronger and better as a team. And that's the other part of the culture is it's a team, right? We all have similar goals. We all want to get to the same endpoint. And when you look at it that way, you make sure that nobody feels like they're out there by themselves. And that's the last thing you want somebody to do is to feel like they're on an island by themselves and they don't have help or resources or anybody to come in to help support them. And the other is in today's world, people move around. They move from company to company to company. And as a person that hires a lot of people and is building a team up, one, I don't want to see my team turn over every couple of years with new people coming in or people leaving. I want people to come in because we're growing and we're having to hire new people. So I want to make sure that everybody that I have is being utilized to the best of their abilities and their skills. They're set up for success, and that the team itself is stable. But if somebody does decide to leave and go somewhere else and pursue another opportunity, I don't want to hold anybody back from pursuing a new opportunity. But at the same time, I want to make sure that it's not going to harm the team when somebody steps away. So from a customer standpoint, having multiple touch points, right? Not just one person interacting with customers, but multiple people interacting with customers. Having from an R&D standpoint, right, or a research or a technical standpoint, multiple people interacting on different projects. So there's always a smooth transition if there is a turnover of people. Um, and just another quick note, something else that I'm a big fan of, and I think it really builds a culture for success, is pre-meeting meetings, especially when you're customer facing, right? So you got a meeting with a customer and you're going to present data on your latest trial. Making sure the team comes together, the broader team comes together and really highlights one, the customer's expectations, our expectations, what we want to get out of the meeting, so that we're not wasting the customer's time, we're not wasting our time, and we can really then drive the conversation in a direction that is beneficial for the customer and for us.
That's true, especially like, if you have a recurring meetings or anything like that with customers. We like to say here in house that you know the most valuable time we have on our routines is the time that we have in front of our customers, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's when you're building your relationship, it's when you're building your company image and your team's image to the people who matter, the people who you're partners with. So I really like this. We used to do something like a little bit shorter, but it just gave me some more insights on like maybe we need to extend that more. Have more time dedicated to pre- preparing to when you're in front of customers. And one other thing that you shared, you want to build a team that will grow together. You want to have people wanting to stay in the company, in the team, and staying the longest possible, so you don't have to face those turnovers. And that's a really big thing nowadays. I don't know if you look at a few decades ago, not very long ago, people used to get in a company and build their whole career within the same company. And nowadays, with all the global opportunities, we're not limited anymore, by our cities or the region where we live.
Mhm.
You can today work for a company in the US, maybe some tomorrow you'll be working for a company that is in Europe or Asia or South America. So that's also a big challenge. And this strategy of using like multiple touch points, not touch points, but contacts and people involved with the customer definitely facilitates that. So there's not that break. And we faced that problem in the past a few times. So it's really interesting how that can facilitate. I loved it. Very nice. And so you brought a key word for us here. You talked about collaboration, right? How do you facilitate collaboration when you are in a position like yours, where you're leading global teams? You have people in different regions, sometimes in different countries, different continents, and ultimately with different cultures. How do you make like all those people with their totally different backgrounds, or not totally because they're in the same segments and industries, but with those different backgrounds, how do you make them get together and collaborate to each other?
Yeah, that's a great question. Kerry is absolutely a global company. Our headquarters is in Ireland. I have people in all major regions, so North America, LATAM, Europe, Asia. So bringing all of them together, all the different cultures, the time zones, honestly, is probably the hardest, right? When you're talking to somebody over in Asia, it could be 12, 14-hour time difference. So trying to organize that is just as difficult. One thing that I do always try to do is have a standing meeting at least monthly where the greater team comes together and we share wins, losses, best practices, and really at least stay familiar with one another, right? It's hard for people in Asia and North America to collaborate on a regular basis just because of the time difference. But even still, we want to make sure that they're familiar enough with each other if they need help. We have customers that are here in North America and in Asia, right? So there are oftentimes collaboration globally across multiple countries, multiple regions. And so we want to make sure that there's the familiarity there and the comfort to reach out if somebody needs to. Um, so just standing calls, right, are very important. From my standpoint, I think it's very important to build a personal relationship. So I do try to get out to the different regions with the different people on a regular basis. I want to make sure that they are comfortable with me, that they understand my thoughts, my way of working, what I'm trying to build from a cultural standpoint. Um, Communication like this is great, but you still have to have that one-on-one personal relationship to really have the trust for them to trust me and me to trust them. So that's absolutely key. It's tough, right, in a global position trying to get everywhere.
With lots of people as well, right?
Yeah, me to get to Asia is 26 hours. You're losing a whole day just in travel. So not to mention the time difference. So it's not easy, but it's absolutely needed. And it's not something that you have to do on a monthly basis, but it is something that has to be done. And then when you are together in person, always make sure that you take the time to do non-business related activities. Okay, even if it's just go to dinner and then get dessert and talk about life and family. Make sure that you take that time to build a personal relationship, because that's what trust is built on, right? And then if you have that foundation, you can do business off of that, no problem. But if everything's built on business, then then you treat it like that. You treat it like a transaction, and then at that point, you if somebody comes over and offers you a nice shiny penny to come work for them, you're going to take it because you have a transactional mindset, a business mindset. You don't have that personal connection with your boss and your company.
Okay, so that's another important aspect to keep the team with you, having those personal connections. One thing that I love, and I don't know, I've seen people in the industry, not everyone, but a few people mentioning like, hey, yeah, trade shows today, for example, they are not as the same as they used to be. The attendance of, I don't know, maybe the attendance of producers is not the same as it used to be, and so on. But in a short experience that I have in the industry, I found it that it's very nice, like the opportunity you have to be in front of your team, not only customers, but getting your team together, having those personal interactions, having, I don't know, if we're thinking, for example, about the Pork Expo, eating a barbecue with even people from other companies, doing that networking and building this relationship. I think this is amazing, and I see it's like something. If I had my company, if I was leading my company, I would definitely be in those places. Not only because of the negotiations and the deal and sales opportunities, but because of that, building this the, this true team, right? Building this connection and relationship among the team, especially today when we're basically everyone is in a different side of the planet, or even in different regions within the same country, but you don't have that contact, the direct contact.
Just to build off that, completely agree with you. One a book that I read that I absolutely believe wholeheartedly, and it's in the title, and that's Never Eat Alone. You talk about eating barbecue at World Pork, and when you go to trade shows, right? You're not there just to meet with customers. You're there to meet with your team, to network with other companies. You never know down the road where that network will lead you and where it might benefit you. Uh, I have customers now that were competitors in the past, right? But I built a strong relationship with them from a networking standpoint, and I just seeing them at different shows and different venues that they were comfortable when they went back into production to work with me. And it was never yeah, it's competitive when you're a counterpart, but it was never confrontational. And so, yeah, never eat alone. You go to a meeting and you try to schedule breakfast, lunch, and dinner with somebody. It doesn't always have to be a customer. And at trade shows these days, you you got to take advantage of that. There's always more vendors, more suppliers than there are customers. And if you can't get a meeting with a customer, sometimes it's okay. Get a meeting with a coworker. Get a meeting with your boss. Get a meeting with somebody that's at another company, and and build your network, because that network is what's going to help you be successful.
Absolutely. And as you said, like people in the industry, they are like it's recurring that they will change positions. They will go from one company to the other, and that will it's dynamic. It's not like a one-way transaction,
Exactly.
the supplier and producer, and that's it. It's really dynamic, and yeah, taking advantage of this networking is awesome. Uh, and so continuing in the collaboration aspect of teams, one thing that I've learned with you as we discussed is the importance of how you are setting goals, right? To ensure collaboration, people need to believe in those goals. You need to, as you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, you need to sell the idea to the team, so you get everyone engaged and doing working on their being their best to accomplish those goals. How do you approach all this setting goals things? How do you guys establish the goals for the year and so on?
Yeah, great question. So as a sales team, as a sales organization, you always have a budget that is part of your goals, right? And one thing that I'm big on is to make sure that an account manager or salesperson doesn't just have a here. This is my set of accounts. This is my goal, right? If you're working in a region and you have cross collaboration between multiple customers, multiple people coming in, then that's not just your customer, right? That's everybody's customer. And so then everybody needs to have a similar target, a similar goal. So from a budget standpoint, from a sales standpoint, I really like to have regional sales goals where everybody has virtually the same target. Okay. Because that builds collaboration, that builds teamwork, that sets everybody on the same path. And then from a review standpoint, we can easily say, guys, we're winning or losing as a team, not Ricardo's winning and Blake's losing. No, together, Kerry US is winning, or Kerry Europe is winning. We're doing a great job. Or, hey guys, we need to improve. So let's come together as a team and figure out how we can improve and how we can advance so that we hit our goals. Okay, so you always will have that at any organization. But outside of that, from an individual standpoint, I always want to set stretch goals for people, and this is a collaboration. Once again, it's not Blake coming in telling Ricardo, "I need you to do this." No, it's we come together like this and we talk. We say, "What do you want to accomplish this year? Right? What are your goals?" One of mine is to start advancing a second language. Right? I studied some in school and university, but now in the position that I'm in, I need to be able to speak more in another language, or at least to be able to understand it more. So that's a goal of mine, uh, which means outside of work, I've got to do homework. I've got to do prep. For others, it may be take a class, do a class to help with doing presentations or sales training, or I had one person say they wanted to be able to do creative writing, which actually is great. It was a technical person, right? They want to do creative writing, which really means they want to be able to take the data that they've created and put it in a way to create a story that highlights the benefit of what they've done from a technical standpoint. Okay. So when we have these conversations and we come to an agreement, then it's how can I help them reach that goal, right? Do I help you find a university that has a class that can take it, and then I help sponsor that class, or do I find you a mentor? I, I'd strongly recommend that anybody who is in a professional career get a mentor, somebody either internally or externally that you can have a regular conversation with that can help you answer questions or guide you in a direction that you want to go. Uh, Senior people have wisdom, and I highly recommend that you find somebody that you can have a regular touch point with once a month, once a quarter, that can act as a mentor for you. But goals should not be one way; they should always be a collaboration, a conversation, and then once they're set, smart goals are great, right? You you set it, you measure it, you make sure it's attainable, you make sure it's relevant, and then you set a time. And if you do all five of those, then you are setting yourself up for success. And that's what you always want. You want to make sure somebody feels like they're setting themselves up for success and that they're building and developing themselves from a professional standpoint.
That's great. That's something we try to do as well. And I really like the thing about the mentor, because not only the mentor, but having to peer-to-peer collaboration. Uh, Not only because you can learn from those colleagues and superiors and other people, but also helps in terms of accountability, right? Keeping keeping accountable for the goals you define. Otherwise, sometimes you set goals, but like New Year's goals, where yeah, let's do this and that, and then things might kind of die along the way. So I think this peer-to-peer collaboration is really important. Not only again for learning from the others, but keeping true to yourself and to the goals you have set. That's awesome. That's really nice.
Just one other quick point, because you bring up a great point. Sometimes you set goals and then you forget about them. And so always try to do at least a review halfway through the year to make sure that everybody's on progress headed toward their goals, and that it's not just, hey, we set them in March and review them at the end of the year and you either did it or you didn't do it. So always like to have at least one, if not two, touch points throughout the year just to make sure that everybody is comfortable and heading in the right direction to achieve all their goals.
Awesome. Yeah. Here at Wisenetix, what we do is we set like quarterly goals. So it's we see it as a good time frame for you to keep things warm in your head and like, hey,
Mhm.
that's what I need to accomplish. And we have recurring review of those things like, are we on track? Are we stuck? Where are we stuck? What we can do to unstuck things? So this is also something really important. So coming back to the team building thing,
Yeah.
we have I don't know if that I can call this a policy here at Wisenetics, but sometimes we were focused like when we were hiring people, we were not we were hiring them mostly according to their like profile, right? We have this we use this tool called culture index here, where like it's kind of a disc, but
Mhm.
d- goes deeper. It gives you more like a bigger variety, a large, yeah, bigger range of people profiles. And we used to hire people based on that and their culture, right? If they had a cultural fit with us. Not exactly for positions. We, as Marcio likes to say, first we bring people on the bus, then we decide where they are sitting, right? How do you guys approach talent acquisition in Kerry? How is your hiring process?
Yeah, so hiring people is critical. It's critical for future success, right? You want to bring in quality people that fit into your culture and what your ultimate goals are. Uh, so when I'm hiring, when we're hiring here at Kerry, you know, you could have a recruiter bring in people, you do an interview, and you say, yeah, this is the person I want to hire, and go off and do that. The problem is when you do it that way, one, the person that you're hiring has not interacted with anybody from the greater team, so they have no comfort level when they come in. The greater team has not spoken with that person, so they have no idea who you are possibly bringing on. And as you very well know, you can bring the wrong person in and destroy a culture of a team. And it's much harder to build up a culture than it is to tear down a culture. And so, as a team, as as you build up teams, you want to make sure that the people that you bring in are people that will fit in and then help the team succeed. No different than a soccer team bringing in a player or a baseball player bringing in a player. It could be the best player in the world, but if they have a terrible attitude, rotten attitude, and they don't fit in, it will it does not lead to success, right? It leads to frustration, leads to burnout, and then ultimately it leads to people leaving your company. And that's the last thing you want to do. When you bring somebody onto your team, you want to build the team and build success and make sure that everybody is comfortable with it. So one of the things that I do here at Kerry, and I picked this up along the way, and that is I bring a group of people into the hiring process that are familiar with what that role is that we're looking for. So, say it's an account manager role, we I'll make sure that we bring some technical people. Technical people have observations and insights into personalities that I don't see. Right? I'm ultimately a sales guy, so I like high energy people that are go go go. but not always the high energy people see the details. And sometimes they overlook the important things like making sure you're sharing the right information. And so you bring somebody in that's got more of a technical background that can pick up on those things. One thing that I absolutely make sure is to bring in somebody from HR, because somebody from HR has a completely different perspective than I would, or somebody from the technical team. I have a leadership team here at Kerry that I make sure most all of them interview anybody that we bring on board. If the leadership team is comfortable with this person and think they can be successful in their position that we're hiring for, then as a team, we're all going to get behind that person and try to build them up and help them be successful. And then as a new person coming in the team, now you know the leadership team, you're familiar with several people, and you don't come in feeling like you're out in left field all by yourself. So it's a group process. I call it old school, where you interview one person and you make the decision right then and there if you're going to hire them. In today's world, where we have cross collaboration, we have multifunctional teams. You need to make sure everybody's comfortable with each other, and the last thing we want to do is ruin the culture that we're building.
Plus, in the old-fashioned way, old school way, uh, everyone that is in a job interview, you're always trying to be the best version of yourself and show sometimes even things that you are not, in order to accomplish your goal, which is getting inside of the company, getting that job. So it's I don't know, and sometimes it's a 30-minute, 1 hour interview, something like that, that will not reflect what the person really is. So you hire them, and then with a few months, and it takes time. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's six, sometimes it's over 6 months. So you can really say, okay, that was not the right choice for us. So I like how this bringing the team together thing can help. Plus, when you put people from different departments that will work with those new rep, when you bring them to the process, I think it also helps facilitating, the the entry, the first interactions of this new person with the team. I believe that people that help in the hiring process, we will not only get meet the person and get used to them, but will feel more responsible for their success, right? Because
Yeah,
yeah, they agreed with that person coming. They it's an interesting perspective. I liked it.
win and lose as a team. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, and that the culture is not tear apart, as you
Yeah,
mentioned.
100%.
Blake, we are wrapping up here our conversation. It's great. I loved it. I got a lot of nice insights, even for us here at the company. It's always great learning from experienced people like you. Um, and thinking about learning, what would be like one piece of advice you would give to someone starting their career today in the ag industry, regardless of like what's their position, if it's technical or sales or whatever?
I think we already touched on it, and that's not to eat alone. Build your network. Build your network. Meet new people. Every opportunity you get to meet somebody, whether it's within your own company or other companies, customers, continue to build your network and build your own personal brand. Building up your own personal brand is important to everybody, and you should know that you know who people know you and who people think you are, or is the persona that you put out. But yeah, always learn, always be open, but never eat alone. That's the key.
It's all about like where you're gonna be and the opportunities that are gonna show up to you. It's basically the people you meet. Great. Any so I have my next question is like, do you have any books, documentaries, movies, podcasts you'd like to recommend? I know that Never Eat Alone is one of them.
That is one. Another one that I highly recommend for somebody that works at a global company. It's a book called The Culture Map, and that talks about it's by Aaron Myers. Talks about doing business in different cultures and how they fall along she calls it a culture map, but how somebody in Asia does business versus somebody in the U.S. Right? how to build trust, how to work as a team, very similar to the conversation we've had. So it's an easy read, it's a great read, but it gives you strong insights into how other cultures work and think. Just a quick example, right? In the US, you start a meeting, people are expected to be there at 10 a.m. if that's what time it starts. In Latin America, it's okay to be 5 minutes late, maybe even 10 minutes late, right? It's cultural.
As a Brazilian, I know that.
Yeah. And so you can't be upset with somebody if you set a meeting with Brazilians and they're 5 minutes late. That's within their culture. It's perfect. It's accepted, right? So it's a understanding how business is done and how people do business in different cultures. So that's a great read. Highly recommend it.
I remember when I was living in Australia, I had this. My boss was German, and it was the place where I learned to be on time. Because Germans, they're really like, hey, that's the time. It's gonna be the time we're gonna be there. It's the time, which makes sense. That's why you set a time, right? But yeah, it's there was a learning curve there. And Blake, my last question is, where can our listeners find you online?
Oh, well, probably the easiest place is on LinkedIn. So I have an active profile, and I try to do post things on a regular basis. That's going to be the best place to find me. And other than that, you're going to find me at my house when I'm not in the airplane.
Which is a good chances people are not gonna get you in your house then. Awesome, Blake. I want to say thank you for all the great talk, for taking the time for us, and for sharing all this great information with our audience. And to everyone that was listening to us, thank you for your company and for staying with us. Hope to see you guys on our next episode.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.